Hi everyone, John O'Leary from Horse Problems Australia, and welcome to the next DVD in our series, and this one will be joint, entitled Retraining the Standardbred. There are lots of shortcuts that one needs to learn with these to save months of work, but the main point that I want to get across to you today is that what makes us successful in getting these horses to canter, which is the most difficult part of the scenario with them, because they've been brainwashed to pace or trot with equipment on their legs so that they can't canter, is to train them proper dressage, because nothing works better than proper dressage, as in Olympic dressage if possible, to balance them and make them athletic, and to be able to have the controls on them so that they can concentrate and learn as quick as possible to canter and keep their balance. But before we do, there are two or three things that you should always do. One, assess the mouth on the horse. A lot of these have pretty reasonable mouths, as against the thoroughbred racehorse, who I find never have a mouth over 4 out of 10, and a lot of them less. So we assess the mouth and fix the mouth first, and you can consult my mouthing DVD on that. Then the horse has to be trained to leg yield, because without leg yielding you have no dressage, and you have no balance, you have no straightness, you can't ride horses on circles and balance them, etc., and therefore you can't teach them to canter quickly. And so the first thing we'll do just here, and we'll hand over this horse to Mrs. Horse Problems later, but I just want to quickly run this horse around here and check its lateral mouth, because that's the other thing you're going to need, because you never know what these horses will do. You never know how quiet they are, or how they may react when they may be under a bit of pressure on the dressage arena. So you always want to make sure that you've got air brakes on them for your own benefit, and to have more controls. So all you will do is to send this horse around the pen. I presume a lot of these horses don't lunge either. They've never been lunged. They only get taken around racetracks behind cars normally, and half a dozen of them together being dragged around by a vehicle. They just get her going around, and then all of a sudden pull hard, and you can see the mouth open on this horse. And so plenty of work to do on fixing. Whoa, yep. Now I've put 50, 60 kilos on there. Whoa, whoa, we go, whoa. Good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl. I'll put 50, 60 kilos on that horse there, on his lateral mouth, all of a sudden, and taken it by surprise, because only then will you find the true lateral mouth, the underlying mouth that is beneath the surface, the mouth that comes out and bites you on the backside when things go wrong. No point being touchy-feely about this, because we're only pulling on the outside of the horse's face, and I've got plastic extenders on this FM bit, so it doesn't matter how hard you pull. So we'll rate that side of her mouthing. Hey, wake up. Hey. At about 3.5 out of 10. You've seen something, and now you're all hoity-toity. They can move, a lot of these horses too, like very good horses. Okay, woo. Woo. Okay, again, very poor in the lateral mouth, so we know immediately that this horse needs remouthing. And so that'll also be done in the next couple of days. as well. And now I want to check the front brakes. So we'll just put the long rein on this horse and ask it to go forward, and all of a sudden ask it to stop to see what we've got in terms of front brakes. What have you seen down there, eh? What have you seen down there? Now she should know about this, because I think they get a lot of this. So all we do is quickly walk the horse forward, and I'm going to suddenly block, whoa, and have a feel, no sophistication whatsoever, no subtleties, just let her run into my, whoa, hand and have a feel. And again, her front brakes, whoa, her front brakes are way better than her laterals, and they are up around about a 7 out of 10, which is often the case with these standardbred horses versus the thoroughbreds off the track. They have terrible mouths, but this is pretty good, 7 out of 10. But we'll also improve that as we go also, because the better the mouth, the easier to train and the easier to do dressage. And remembering, as I said before, the dressage is going to be the thing that is going to assist this horse and the riders of the future to be able to try and canter her. Now, just quickly, the very next thing that we will do with this horse, and you should do with your one, is to train it to put its head down straight away. This will also have an effect on remouthing it and to get some more lightness up front. And so you'll just put a set of running reins, only running reins and never side reins. They just ruin them. Instead of running reins on the horse, now these ones I've designed, normally you will go through the legs on trained horses further down the track. On these ones though, that have never probably put their head down in their life, start off outside the legs, and the front legs as they go back and forth give a bit of a jiggle. Cheating again, but that doesn't matter. You can use all the gimmicks you like with these horses. This is not a sophisticated game here. The sophistication will come later. This is a time-saving game. These running reins I've designed and sell with an easy adjustment, and you know where you are with them, and half the price of Saddle World. I love taking sales away from Saddle World. My favourite people. Okay, so through the bit and up the top. Now, highly dangerous to introduce such equipment on any horse, because if you put them on and do them up tight straight away, you'll get the horse running backwards and then over backwards, through the fence, dead horse, etc. So start off long, where the horse can have its head at its natural head height, and just assess it over the first few laps. This one doesn't know a lot about lunging, but it doesn't matter, we've only got to get it going forward. We've got a round pen. Now I can see that at the moment there's no real ask on that horse there. Make very sure that you're back behind the horse, and I should have a whip here as well, in case the horse did try and run backwards. So immediately I'm going to go up with a little bit of adjustment. Good girl, good girl. And if you're going to the left with a horse, try and have your flexion to the left a little bit, and change it when you go to the right, getting the horse to look around the circle in the correct way of travel. Regardless of the fact that this horse may lunge or doesn't lunge, when we put this equipment on horses, you'll notice I'm behind this horse and with a whip, and if it started to stop and walk backwards, I would hit it over the backside in order to save its life, because forward is everything. when introducing such equipment, because you don't want an accident. It only takes them really one day to get used to this. If we gradually go up bit by bit, I can see that this horse is going to handle this in no time at all, and very easily, because there's not a lot of resistance up front in this horse, as you can see. And the reason for that is the 7 out of 10 mouth versus the thoroughbreds on 2s and 3s. Now, at the walk, I don't mind them walking because they can concentrate on what it is that you're trying to achieve. But this one wants to trot now. She's decided she knows what lunging is all about. I'll just go up again. Whoa, 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 whoa. She won't know the age to stop either, but just back off. Whoa, good girl. Just back off the horse to teach it the woo and use the English language to it. Now I've gone up on the left rein because I want her to go to the left. So I want her flexing a little bit to the left. Steady, 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 steady. You're feeling good, love. You're feeling good. Good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl. Steady, steady. You'll also find with these horses that they rarely have the panic in them and they'll lose the brain that the thoroughbred does. The thoroughbred, when they feel this amount of pressure going along, may stop and start running backwards or lose it altogether. But these horses are generally very cool. Whoa, 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 whoa. Good girl, good girl, good girl. She's a good girl. Good girl. Good girl. She's a good girl. Okay, up again on this left hand side. Okay, away you go. Now if she'll walk, that would be good because she can work it out better at the walk. Nothing wrong with walking, so I back off with my body language. Walk on. Moving her front end out with body language. Amazing how they can read you regardless of the fact that they don't do Pirelli. I suppose it's the language of Equus. It's all about position. Now there she goes, she's starting to drop her head and work out what's required here. Steady, 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 steady. Now we already know that we've got a non-panic horse here. Steady, steady. And with these horses we can genuinely progress quicker than most. Whoa, 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 whoa. Good girl, good girl. She's a good girl. I think she wants to go to the right. We'll go up on this one. Good girl. She's still flexed off, so we need to go up more on this side rein. Steady, 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 steady. But she's handling this fine. Steady. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, again on the right. Oh, that one's come undone. There we go. Good girl. Walk on. Walk on. Walk on. Now, when the rider gets on these horses and puts leg on, something that they've never had before, and they don't know what the hell leg's for, but once they start to work out what leg is to go forward, but if you start to restrain them up front with the reins to try and get them to go in a round form in a frame, to start to head towards some sort of dressage training with them, of course if you haven't pre-programmed them with running reins, they won't know what the hell you want, and you'll just end up with a horse jacking up, not going, possible rearing situations. If it wasn't a standardbred, a thoroughbred would start thinking about rearing. So this is just to pre-program the horse, that when the rider asks the horse to go forward, but restrains it a little bit up front in order to try and get some sort of a head carriage, that the horse will understand that it can do two things at once: go forward and put its head down and feel a bit of a contact, but continue to go forward. So that's the beauty of running reins. This will save you weeks and weeks of work, and you should do it every day for a week or so. And then, depending on how you're going under saddle and how difficult it is or not to put the horse's head down yourself, depending on your ability, etc., or the ignorance of the horse, will determine a new lunge with running reins to give them a tune-up and to keep the horse at a level that you can handle with its head down. Some of them, every time you lunge the horse, it is better to have this equipment on, because you're building the top muscles, the longitudinal muscles, the top line of the horse, and you're getting some benefit out of lunging. Good girl. So there you go. Simple as that. She knows all about, for the first time in her life probably, as any of these racehorses, going around and giving to the bit with some lightness up front and finding her own reward and relief, because there is no quicker relief to a horse than the relief that the horse can give itself, versus some equipment like this that does allow the horse to flex downwards, left, right, up, not just fixed like side reins. Don't ever put side reins on these horses, you'll just ruin them forever. Good girl, good girl. Okay, so running reins, remouthing, which I'll do, teach it to leg yield, follow all of the lateral controls of making her stand, etc., which are on my podcasts and in the problems index on my website. Using lateral controls to make the horse stand, one rein stops, all of that stuff. Add all of that to this horse, and then keep that weaponry up your sleeve in case of, or to control the horse if it suddenly gets too excited for some reason. And but then go on with your proper dressage, having done the groundwork in the round pen first. Good girl. Okay, so I'll hand over this project now and this DVD to Mrs. HP, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you. Good girl. She's a lovely girl. She's a lovely girl. Yes, she is. She's a lovely girl. She's a lovely girl. Yes, she is. She's a lovely girl. Ooh, Murray. Welcome back to the Standardbred DVD, and here we have another horse. He's just off the track also, coming through thick and fast at the moment, and his name's Murray. Now, looking at this horse, you can see that he's got a big upside down neck, which is a bit unusual for the standardbred. They don't often come with that, but that tells us that he's been hanging on the hands of the driver throughout his entire career, and therefore, and no doubt, he will have a wooden mouth. And he's got a shocker of a front mouth, and so I take you back to those foundation stones that you must tick off before you do the dressage on these horses. Remouth the horse, and obviously Murray has to be remouthed. Because of his resistance and a rough mouth, he just wants to poke his nose, he doesn't go down. Therefore, there's no point doing dressage, so running reins, etc., 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 to fix that problem with Murray, to set him up for the dressage arena. And then, of course, we need the backup as well. Now, there is no sophistication whatsoever in teaching these horses to back up. I did this yesterday on my first ride on him. Incidentally, he was petrified of me. I've never felt a horse so bunched up when I got on. A lot of them are frightened of men, and Murray was as well. But he's already worked me out, and we're becoming pretty friendly. But to teach these horses to back up, and this horse would not back up, you just simply take hold of their face and haul them as hard as you need to do, with some sophistication of reward and relief, of course, for a small try to teach them what you want, but no leg on at all. Go and read my article on reversing the horse, because later you want to be training the horse to back up in a sophisticated manner, but at the start it's just simply hauling on their mouths, which again is part of the re-education process of their mouth. And to put reverse gear rate in their mind. That assists with stop the seat later and half halts, etc. on the dressage arena, all part of the package. But the main thing that I want to talk to you about this morning is the two other things that you must do with these horses. You must stop and not allow the horse to do what is called amble. Amble is walking in a pace. They do that because of the hobble straps on them, and they're made to do it, and they're brainwashed to do it. But we want this horse to be walking normal in a 4-beat motion. We want him to be trotting in a 2-beat motion, not pacing but diagonals. And we want him to be cantering in a 3-beat form in correct canter. So we've got to fix the amble, and I'll try and show you. Often when they get nervous they amble, so I'm going to take this horse straight out the gate here now in the traffic. I did it once yesterday, never seen it before, and hopefully that will make him nervous enough to whereby he will start to amble, and I'll show you what to do to fix the amble, because every time the horse goes to amble you must stop it, and you must re-educate him out of ambling and teach him and let him believe that he can actually walk like a normal horse. And the other thing, of course, is the pace. When we go to trot, or if we are trotting, we must only accept trot. We will never accept pace from this day on. We have to eliminate that out of his mindset and let him know that he can actually act like a normal horse and forget the brainwashing. So we've got to re-brainwash him, rejig his mind to trot, not pace. So every time one of these horses goes to break into a pace, normally during worry or tension or lack of balance, which you'll see Mrs. HP talk about, you will bring the horse right back to a walk if necessary. You'll often find that they'll try and amble straight away, therefore you won't even accept that, so you'll go right back to establishing a proper walk. Then you'll recommence your trot, and you will not accept pacing. I won't have time to go onto the pacing side of it probably this morning, but I do want to show you the amble, so we'll adjourn out of the round pen now, Murray, and we'll go and see the cars. Okay, there we go. Good boy. Eating grass. Walk on, good boy. Walk on. Good boy, Murray. Good boy. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Now at the moment, Murray's walking like a conventional horse. Pretty good. Almost relaxed, not quite, but 4-beat walk. But you'll feel them when they go to start heading to ambling or pacing at the walk, because the 4-beat walk will get shorter and less swinging. Good boy. Good boy. He's a good boy. That was a tough one, wasn't it, mate? Typical of these fantastic horses, of that four-wheel drive and that trailer rattling like hell. He hasn't seen any of this, but hardly reacts. I just found the world's best horses, these. Now, if he ambles, which it looks like he may not do this morning, I did the job yesterday, but you simply go to my problems index and read the subject, the jig-jogging horse. You'll notice I've got this horse on a pleasure rein, and you must, but go to my problems index and read the jig-jogging horse, and if he ambled, you will simply stop him immediately, back him up, throw the rein away again, and dare him to amble again. If he ambled then once again, or 500 times, you simply immediately stop him, back him up, out of the amble, throw the rein away, walk on Murray, walk on. Word. Now he's going to jog, so stop, back up, walk on. He's now got tense all of a sudden. And pleasure rein, throw the rein away, dare him to do it again. He will not walk properly if you hang off his mouth with a little contact. That is what causes jig-jogging horses, and it is also what causes standardbreds to amble. They have to learn to walk normal on the pleasure rein, and you can do it and relax. These horses aren't going anywhere. They are quiet horses, so trust them. That is a pleasure rein whereby he cannot feel my hand at all, but simply, as I said, walk on mate. He ambles, stop, back, throw the rein away, walk on, good boy, reward the horse, let him know he's a good boy, pleasure rein, and if you have to do that 500 times, which I did yesterday 50 or 60 times, that's what you do, and in the end you have brainwashed the horse not to amble. Having cancelled out ambling, you're heading positively towards the dressage arena and to removing the pace. Look at this idiot here. This is what you've got to put up with these days in the traffic, these idiots over double lines. What's the matter? Okay, work, mate, work. He's shaking his head, he's getting worried. Good boy. Walk on. Now he's tending to want to head to amble, so even for that tense walk, I will stop him and warn him. Good boy. Good boy. Look through. Pull back. His back up's getting better all the time. Good boy. Good. I'll just relax him by stopping him and backing him up and warning him. Good boy, Murray. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. And now he starts to snort, relaxing more, and starting to relax in the walk on the pleasure rein, looking around, surveying the scene. So there you go. Make the horse walk and make the horse trot, which I'll try and do here now. Okay, trot away, trot. Okay, now he's trotting. Good boy, they have a very big movement, these horses, and one of the slight downfalls is for the amateur rider coping with the big movement of these horses because they move like a warbler. But at the moment he's trotting. If he went into a pace, I would simply come back straight immediately, put the brakes on properly, back him up. If he paced, walk on, and then trot on again. So we'll leave it there, and Mrs. HP will move on with the next horse shortly. Trot, trot, trot. Pleasure rein again. Check release, not on his mouth. Good boy. He's a good boy, Murray. He's a good boy. Yes, he is. He's a bold boy, isn't he? See? He's a bold boy. Yes, he is. Good boy. Good boy, Murray. Here comes a truck.
Welcome back to our first ridden session on training the Standardbred off the track. I'm Linda O'Leary from Horse Problems Australia. I rode this horse yesterday briefly just to teach her leg yielding. Now of course we haven't got time to address all the different subjects, so you can always go to our leg yielding DVD to be able to learn that in 2 days. And this will be proof of it because this is only our second day. I'm going to just let this horse walk around initially just on a loose rein, just to show you what these horses do, because they always go around flexed off rather badly, and of course that doesn't aid us to get them round and on the bit. These horses have to be able to go on the bit because part of the balance comes from the horse using its back correctly and therefore establishing a rhythm, and then we don't get the run and the pacing. So we're going to just walk on. To be able to ask a horse on the bit, of course you can address my Above the Bit DVD. Again, that's too long a subject to start to teach you everything now, because of course we just want to train this horse to be able to canter and be able to go around and do some nice flat work as well as trail riding. I find them very, very easy in temperament. They always are willing to please and don't tend to get as frazzled as other breeds, and therefore they pick things up fairly quickly. However, we still need them to be relaxed, not because of necessarily tension, but you'll find when a horse that is a standardbred gets tense, that's when they'll go into the pacing. And of course that comes very natural to them, it's their foundation, and so when they're not sure of what we want them to do, that is what they opt to try and do. Every time I get pacing, I will come back to a walk and then redo whatever it was that I was trying to achieve. Now she's very relaxed, she's not a horse that wants to jig off or anything like that, and again the Standardbreds are more laid back. Now because she has learned to leg yield yesterday, you'll notice I'll be able to in a moment keep her a lot straighter, and therefore she will start to come rounder and develop this rhythm that I was talking about. And in today's session, that is all we're going to spend time doing. Being able to get a rhythm, being able to ride a decent circle, and being able to go large, maintaining the rhythm. Because if we can't achieve that, we definitely cannot try and attempt a canter. So I spend a couple of days just at walk and trot until the horse can do the balanced circle before I try and attempt canter. Alright, so when we get up the top end here, we're actually going to start picking up a contact, and we're going to just remind her from yesterday's session to do a little bit of leg yield, just so that she remembers. Everything we teach the horse, we repeat daily, and of course as the horse learns more, we build on that from day to day, so we have more to practice from day to day. Alright, so we're going to just shorten our reins up now. And they tend to want to always drop their shoulder in. They're fairly wobbly, these horses. And again, I think it's because they find it hard to balance. They're not particularly strong in muscle tone, especially when they come off the track. They're actually like a rail to ride. And so we have to develop, of course, that muscle tone. Another reason why we want them down on the bit, using their back, so that they can get the strength. And that in turn will keep them sound for a lot longer. Alright, so every time that this horse now tries to bring its shoulder to the inside track, I'm going to correct her by pushing her sideways like so to the outside. Now she was very willing to do that then, so that shows you yesterday she did work out what the leg yield was all about. Here I'm just going to cut in on purpose so that I've got further to go across to demonstrate it a little bit more to you. And that's good. I just applied my inside leg, she moved away. That is the response we want from her. Now you'll notice as I've finished and completed that leg yield, the horse is starting to come in a frame. And so straightness and correct flexion on circles are the important thing to developing the roundness. And that's very good. Always will, first of all, ask the horse in walk before I proceed to trot. The other thing I will not do is ask her to make an upward transition unless she is round. Because of course if she's not round already in the walk first, it's definitely going to be worse when we go to our trot. I'm just changing direction. Again, as I change direction, I'll now push her to the track off my left leg, making sure she hugs the track. And that's lovely now. Very pleased with that outline, with the concentration of the horse. We'll just cut in on purpose on the next long side once more. Just make sure the leg yield's happening that side as well. And then we're ready to go and progress to a trot. So here we just turn in again. And we will ask with our inside leg, ask her to move over towards the outside track. That's terrific. And as long as she can do that, I'm happy. Now, like I said before, they are very wobbly horses. And what I mean by that is, the moment that you ask them to do anything else, which in a moment will be an upward transition, they will tend to fall across against your inside leg. So it's important that as I ask her to go upward transition, that my inside leg is ready to correct that evasion immediately. So you'll notice I carry a whip. That is to back my leg up in case I don't get the right response from my leg. I will always ask with my leg twice before I use whip, however. Now you can see how she's travelling a little bit crooked. So we've just got to keep putting her back to the track in our leg yield until she starts to travel straighter. And you can also see how we get all kinds of funny steps. It's not a rhythm yet, and that's what we're going to develop first. And don't let the horse shift you to the outside either. Try and stay central, because they will try and shift you. The other thing I notice with standardbreds is around the turns. They find that harder, especially in a small arena, meaning 20-metre turn. And so in order for us to be able to keep a rhythm, we have to actually push the horse on the short side a little bit more than we do on the long side. Right here, extra leg. You see how she wants to go inside out. And so we've got to still do more leg yield work there. Down the straight, she's reasonably good. And so we're going to start riding a circle now. Extra leg again, keep rising. That's the girl. Inside leg, constantly telling her, move over. I'm just going to swap my whip, just so I've got a little bit more there. That's it, good girl. Good girl. And as she starts to stay off my inside leg, as opposed to against my inside leg, oh, we're getting funny stuff, so we walk for a minute. Even though we're walking, I'm still going to push her sideways because she wants to drop in. Every time she stays off my inside leg, you'll start to notice we get a better trot as opposed to pacing. We get the pacing when the horse drops in. I don't mind if you come back to walk in order to leg yield out and then pick up your trot again. There's nothing wrong with that. And trot. And you can see this horse has never ridden circles by the way it reacts. Okay, walk again. And trot again. Hop. Good girl. Good girl. There, she's off the leg, that's good. Here she tends to drop against the leg again. There, you can see that, wobbly. So we say get over. Okay, walk again, because that's still pacing. And trot again. So you can see how the horse finds it a lot harder on a circle than large. Because large, she's got the whole long side to regain her balance. So we'll just let her on for a minute, because we don't want to give her too much pressure. And then we'll just make the circle up the other end. Now I can tell that I've still got to get my leg yielding better on the circles. So we'll just trot one more, and then we're going to actually come to a walk. And walk. And we're going to actually on purpose make the circle smaller now and do some spirals where I actually make the horse step away from my inside leg on a circle line now. Because she hasn't had that yet. And we need to create that bend on the circle for her to be able to become balanced. And as you can see, there we've got bend, so there we've got roundness. Okay, so from the small circle in the middle, I'm going to leg yield out to the big circle till I touch the fence. That's good. Good, reward of course, and every time I reward I pat with my inside rein because I need to maintain an outside contact just like any normal dressage horse. That's good, we'll do that again and then we'll try it in trot again. So let's come in a little bit again. Again, she's just trying to come in a little too quick. So I just stopped her for a moment because she's allowed to come in but with bend, not by dropping in and leaning like a motorbike. That's good. Push her out to the big circle. That's where we want her, around our inside leg. Okay, and then we'll try again. Now she's got to stay around that inside leg as we go upward transition, and that's the challenge because they don't like to do that. Now I don't mind if you just lift your inside rein a little bit to just help tip that nose in on that circle, because if you can keep the nose tipped in on the circle, the horse will keep a bend easier. And because the neck is then bent, you'll actually find it easier to keep the rib cage bent. That's good. That was already much better. So we'll let her out of there, go large. That's her relief, having done it well. Then we'll come back on a circle again in a moment. That's a good girl. Good girl. Again, we want her to stay bent. I'll lift my inside rein if I need more bend. As I do that, I will still use my inside leg. No, that's too sideways, like as in falling in. So get over and go again. And as I lift my inside rein to ask for the bend, I will half halt my outside rein just in the normal position. And I'll do that here, because here is where she always falls in the worst. And I'm just going to keep that pressure until she does move over and starts to trot. So you can see how they use their stiffness to come into a pace. And this is why they have to be able to stay soft and flexed to be able to canter later. But if you can't get softness and flexion, you will get pace. That's good again. So after this circle we'll let her large again, because it's important we give her relief. And notice I'm not changing rein often yet. I'm just letting the horse work it out on one side, dealing with that side before we tackle the next side. And then over a few days' time we'll be able to go left, right, figure of eights and maintain the balance on both sides. So here we go, circle again. She is thinking a little bit exit, this horse, which is why she wants to just drift a little bit out in the open there. We'll do another one yet. Again, keep the flexion. Every time she loses the bend, we're going to lose the trot. Now I need my outside leg on, because this is where she's thinking exit. And then inside leg on here again to say stay bent. Much nicer. At least there we've got an even trot. And again, large. Now we'll let her come back to walk when we get down the other end while we change direction, and then we'll deal with the other side. Okay, so we'll use English. They understand that, of course, from their racing days, and so that helps them to understand what we want. I will still give my seat aid, sit down into the saddle, think, stop, as well as my half halt, but meanwhile I will use voice as well. Okay, we'll let her come across the diagonal for a moment. Again, see how she's wobbling? She went left, I'll put her back to the right, because I want her to travel where I say. Again, she's wanting to go left, I put her back to the right. And it's important that we keep on reassuring that, reaffirming it, because she has to travel between our legs. We can't let her make that decision. Now I'll just go circle up this end at the walk again. We'll do our small circle leg yield out, just like we did on the other side, because she hasn't had that on this side yet. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, so small circle. And now let's leg yield out. Maintaining bend. Big circle, that's great. And upward transition. And trot. Again, see how she wanted to just drop in. I just lifted my inside rein again just to keep that neck straight. So we're not going to let the neck get outwards. The minute that neck gets outwards, the shoulder will drop inwards. Again, she's thinking a little bit exit here. So we'll just go circle now. Good girl. Trot. Good girl. That's it. So now I'll be a little bit more ready. Outside leg on. Steer her. Tell her she has to come around. That's good. Now aim, of course, is, like I said earlier, getting a rhythm, getting her to maintain the trot, that she learns to stay in balance. Outside aids again. And now we'll go large and put her back on a circle up the other end. Here I've just got to keep pushing her to the outside again, because she would like to drop in. Good girl. Good girl. Now, of course, this is the first time that this horse has actually come into an outline. And so you can see how the head carriage is still a little bit up and down. There's still resistance there. But of course, you've got to bear in mind the horse is only learning at this stage. It's not strong in its muscle tone yet. And by the end of this DVD, I'm sure it will be a lot more consistent without the little bit of objection. This time we'll just make our circle a little bit earlier. That's good. Then outside leg on here, asking her to turn and let her on. Now the other thing, because they are a little bit wobbly, don't make your corners too tight either. Let them cut the corners a little bit, but as long as they stay bent, because it helps them just to keep that rhythm better. The tighter you make them go into the corner, the harder it is for the young horse. Okay, that's good. So now we'll just come across the diagonal a few times, and that's how we'll do our changes of rein. Again, I'm going to be very careful that I don't let her pick her line. She has to stay between my leg. And so anytime she cuts in, I will put her back to where I want her to be. So coming across, I will look up at a marker, ride to that marker, keep correcting with my legs. Now push her wide again. That's good. We'll come back across the diagonal once more, change rein to the other side. And you can see how we're getting this flexion, getting the head down, we're starting to get balance, rhythm is coming better. Again, make her travel between the leg. Now inside leg, push her wide. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, so we're just going to now finish up on that for today, and then next session we'll start off again just working her on one rein then the other, and then hopefully by next session we can start to ride some figure of eights, maintaining this rhythm exactly like we have now through the changes of direction as well. So we'll come forward to sit trot again, say woo, good. Don't give her a free rein because she's done a very good job. Just realise she needs to stretch to allow those muscles to stretch, because she's never worked in a shape like that, being over the back. Alright, so we'll see you next time for the next session on Kiara. Okay, hello everyone. We're back for the second day of this horse's training. Today we're going to introduce doing the figure of eights. I've already done a 5-10 minute warm-up where she's repeated yesterday's lesson, and so we're going to progress from there to try and ride figure of eights with bend, nice 20-metre circles each direction, and if we can achieve that we'll go on to the canter as well today. So we'll just see how she goes. I'm just going to ask her just to go large initially, ride my 20-metre circle each direction before we start the figure of eights. And of course we're still looking for that rhythm, the correct flexion and bend and outline. Now from today on we're also going to start to demand that when she makes an upward transition from walk to trot that she stays round, because she's going to have to do that when we go trot to canter for her to maintain submission and balance. So we might as well train her at the lower paces as well to do the same thing, so that she has a clue when we go bigger and harder. Alright, so we've got her round, we've got her straight, so we'll go upward transition now and trot on. Still using English. And we'll just let her come large, then make a 20-metre circle up the other end. We've just got to be careful that we don't get too quick, because we don't want the horse rushing. It's got to find its own balance. A little bit of leg there, because it's trying to slow down at the exit. Now, I've not done any cantering on this horse yet, for the sheer reason that I want to show exactly what they do. And so when we get to that today, it'll be the real deal. We'll do our first change of direction across the diagonal, so that we're not having to change bend so drastically. Now even there, I'm going to make her get off my left leg, because she's wanting to drift that way. And she's got to travel between my legs, just like yesterday. Now, if she wants to stretch her neck a little lower, I'm going to allow that, because I actually want this horse, the longer the better. Then again, they take longer strides and are more relaxed. Make the circle in the middle this time, just for something different. It's a little bit harder because we don't have the support of the wall. As you can see, she's starting to understand to come between the leg and to turn very softly. Okay, so now we'll make a circle down this bottom end, followed by a figure of 8. And I will change the amount of times that I circle on one rein before I go the other way, because I want the horse never to anticipate. And so I might do 2 circles down this end before I go change direction. Every occasion it will be a different number. Now as I come through the centre, and I want her to start to go to the left, I'm actually going to change the position of the flexion now, and leg yield off my inside leg. Now notice she couldn't maintain the rhythm at this stage. So that's just proof that it's the first time that we've done it. And so next time as I change my flexion, I'm going to have a little bit more leg on. We'll just stay on the left circle for a moment, establish this side before we go back to the right. So I've got to be aware as the trainer of the horse that I'm thinking about what it did wrong last time and counteracting that on the next occasion. This time we will come again to the other rein. So I will change my flexion, extra leg on, push it off my inside leg, and this time we maintained a rhythm. Now we'll just go large for a moment before we do the next one. And again, we want this horse to be able to do these figure of 8s so that we can push it around, make it come supple left and right, get it understanding to again stay between the leg. Now I'll make a circle up this end. You get a little bit of a head shake. There's a little bit of attitude there. Normally I find these standardbreds don't act on attitude. They're pretty docile. That's good. Okay, changing rein again to the left. This time keeping the impulsion. Ask it to bend and then leg yield her over. That's good. She just got to come a little bit softer here. So I just bend her neck a little bit more, because it's very important that we get the same amount of bend left as we do right. We've got to develop an evenness in the horse, otherwise you'll get better canter one way than the other, and every bit of your work will be better one way than the other. Okay, we'll do one more change of rein and then we will let her have a rest, because she's done a good job. This time I'll change rein straight away, just to change what I do And just be aware too, when you change your diagonal, of course you're sitting your weight down on the horse's back. And as we do that, what that does is it acts a little bit like a half halt. So be aware that you sit lightly and that you keep your leg on when you come through the centre, because that is enough to make the horse think come back. Again, that's good. A little bit more leg yield again, so we establish the bend, then we keep the now nice round outline. Okay, so we're going to go sit trot. I'm going to just let her have a walk, give her a rest, because we have to reward her with rest. That's the best way for her to understand she's done the right thing, probably even better than us patting her, although that doesn't hurt of course either. So we'll just cut the camera for a moment while we have a rest, and then we'll pick her up again in a moment. Alright, so we've just walked around for 5 minutes. I've just picked her up into an outline again, into medium walk, and while I'm doing that I just want to discuss with you the canter, because that's the next step now. What I find with these Standardbreds, like I explained yesterday, is they're very wobbly horses, and so they'll try and drop their shoulder in as we make the canter transition. And for that reason, I want you to think a little bit of leg yield through your corner as you are about to canter, just to develop the bend and make sure that the horse doesn't drop in. Now, of course, for them it is a totally different gear, and they've got to work out what we want. And I find horses are very good at picking up rhythm, i.e. musical rhythm. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click like so in the rhythm of her canter. And you'll find that she will actually understand then that that is the beat that she has to pick up. As I do that, I'm going to sit up very tall, and I'm also going to exaggerate the movement of my seat in that push of the canter. And so my whole body will change to what it's been doing previously. And that's an indicator too to her that, hey, I want something different. I will also, of course, say the word canter through my transition, because she's got to work out what that is. Before we actually can canter, I would want you to first go sit trot, rise trot numerous times, so that she doesn't think the moment we sit trot it means canter, because of course we need sit trot for our downward transitions later as well. And so we want the horse not to anticipate too much, because that will cause her to run in the trot prior to the canter. And when they run into canter, that's when they get flat and long. When they get flat and long, you'll find you can't maintain the balance. So we're going to go on in trot. Notice I sat trot there. I'm still going to work on my circle. Now I'm going to rise. And I'm just going to play with that, where I change from rising to sitting numerous times, trying to still maintain a rhythm. So now I'll go sitting again, making sure that when I sit, I'm just following the movement of the horse. Notice there, I sat trot, she thought that meant walk. That's because up till now that's what we've done. And so here we go again, pushing with my seat just a little bit, keeping the leg on to say to her, maintain the trot. And I will do that until I feel the horse is comfortable with that. Now we're going to make our first canter from the second corner, down the arena, down the long side, and we're going to do it from the other end down, because towards the gate and exit is easier for the horse to get going, because they want to go home. So here I'm going to sit trot again. I'm going to ask her canter, canter, and as I do so, okay, we get pace, we immediately abort. Now, we've lost the mouth, so we go one rein stop. Because of course when the head sticks up, they pull like that, we cannot have that. We've got a lateral mouth, we've remouthed this horse, so that's not an issue. And that's not her fault. It's confusion, her not understanding. She thinks she has to pace because faster trot is all she knows. So we try again. And we say, Canter. Okay, and we go, whoa. And one rein stop. Because she paces real fast, and as you can see, we get going. We don't need that. So we must, any behaviour that we don't want, we must correct. I don't care how. We must say to her, no. It's not the required thing. Now this time I'm going to do it away from the exit, because you can see she's wanting to get a little bit faster. So I'm sure she'll go leaving the exit as well. So we go again, we give the aid. Now you'll notice every time I get this pacing, the head sticks up in the air. And every time the head sticks up in the air, you will get pace. So we've now got to work on being able to maintain the roundness through the canter. And that is one of the keys. Now if I can't achieve that in a minute, after X amount of tries, I'll actually go and get a marker harbour on her so that I've got some sort of leverage to make her. I'll just go circle. I'll stay sit trot now. I'm going to be a little bit firmer in my rein now. I keep her head down. And I'll say, Canter. Come on, give your face. No. Now you see how stiff they get. So we have to do it again. Okay, go on again. I'm going to go for a circle now, simply because I can keep the bend, which will give me the outline. No, bend. The minute she stiffens, turn her, get the bend back. So we cannot have that. Just persist again. Bend. Good, and whoa. Okay, so we got a bit of canter, we reward. Good girl, because we got the beat, and that's what she's got to understand. And it will be rough and a little bit unorganised to start off with. We give her a walk now, because that's her relief, and then we try again. So you can see I had to change tactics from going large to on a circle, simply to be able to keep some sort of a bend, to control outline, because once their head is in your face, they will pace every time. So it's important you achieve the roundness first. Now at the moment I don't care if she only canters 3 steps. The minute she canters, we give her relief. Well, welcome back again to training Kiara the Standardbred. Today, as you can see, we've put the marker harbour on as we discussed last session. The reason we've done that is because of course we want to now progress with her canter work. We're going to continue from where we left off. Last time, as you'll remember, we just managed to get a few strides. Today we're going to try and build on that a little bit and hopefully get a whole long side, perhaps even half a circle. We'll see how it progresses. The horse will determine that, of course. But the reason we want the marker harbour on is to have a little bit more roundness and control over the submission, because unbeknownst to her, being round in canter is going to help her to find her balance, and therefore when she finds her balance she'll be able to maintain it better. At this stage, as you would have seen last time we did our first canters, she stuck her head in the air and ran. And so if we can stop the run, you'll find that the horse's canter will improve dramatically. So I've only walked around today so far. This is the first time she is in a market harbour, so it will be interesting to see how she sort of fares with that today. I'm going to pick her up now. I'm going to do some trot work, and it is very important that, because the Standardbreds get, of course, very tense about having to do cantering, that we make sure that we get relaxation in the trot prior to canter work. And so I don't care if I have to trot for 10 minutes now. I am actually not going to commence any cantering until the horse trots nicely in a relaxed frame of mind. And so every time I do a canter, I'm going to actually have to, after doing one attempt of canter, I'm going to have to come back to a trot and re-establish the trot before I try again. Now we'll get a little bit of confusion here where the horse is thinking of doing canter, trot, pace all at once. And so, of course, we have to establish rhythm. And that is a very normal reaction for a Standardbred. They they're horses that try and please a lot. And of course, the hard thing we're teaching her is the canter. And so she is thinking, I have to please, I have to do this. And so this is where I've got to be very careful that mentally we don't overdo these things. And that comes with not riding the horse too long, not doing too many transitions upwards from the trot, so that the horse learns it's no big deal. Steady girl. Now you also notice her trot she's a little bit inclined to want to hurry today. And that comes from a little bit of tension, her anticipating the cantering. And so therefore she's thinking, I must run, I must go. And so I have to constantly half halt and steady that back to try and convince her that she doesn't have to be in such a hurry. Steady, mate. Because I want a nice rhythmical trot. I'm not going to come from a skippy kangaroo-like pace. Good girl. So I'm trying to ride at my beat, trying to just keep it the same, pushing her on when she slows like there, slowing her down with my rein when she speeds up. And so we want to be able to ride our figure of eights like we did in the first session before we can commence to upward transitions. Now it's also important that in between your flat work sessions you do pleasure ride these horses to take them out of the arena, away from the pressure of flat work. Because it is a lot for them to have to change and learn. And so we have to break up the work to keep the horse happy. Now I'm still like there. She was going to fall in again on the circle. I'm still going to be very fussy about that because that doesn't help her to balance either. So we've just got to keep correcting our circles, making sure they're round. That's a good girl. Thinking rhythm, not letting it fall in. Because every time they fall in, they lose balance as well. And that is the trait of the Standardbred. They tend to be very good at that. So my inside leg is on her all the time. My outside leg just comes on if she feels like she's going too wide. And I'm guiding with my legs. Meanwhile, my rising stays slow. I will sit trot if I need to control her a little bit. Just because when they do a little bit of a pace, it's a little bit easier to sit on that as opposed to rising to that. Now you can see with the market harbour here, and she's trying to put her head up, but she's not able to achieve that. And that's important that the horse learns that down is the only option, the only place of comfort, and that putting her head up is actually going to make it uncomfortable for her. Can you count me down? Alright, hello, welcome back to training the Standardbred off the track. Here today we have got a new horse. His name is Bobby, and I've been lucky enough to be able to use him to show you a little bit more of the canter work and the progression of training the Standardbred to canter. This particular horse has been off the track now for a couple of months, and his owner has already done the basic work of asking him to come round, to balance him on circles, taught him leg yield, and so he's ready to advance to the canter work now. I've only just got on him, so I'm still assessing him a little bit at this stage, so we'll just go and find out what he knows and how well he knows things before we actually attempt a canter. And so we're just walking around, asking him to stay round at this stage. I'm just checking whether he will stay flexed throughout the circle, keeping the bend correct direction all the time. And you can see how this particular horse, he wants to actually almost gets a little bit into a pace sometimes at the walk. Now when these Standardbreds do that, because they are of course more likely to pace than any other breed, and their walk can get lateral very quickly as well. And so what I check for is that the horse is showing V's from the front legs and the back legs as I look side on to the horse. And if I can't see those V's, I know the horse is going lateral. I can, however, feel it, of course, sitting up here. And the moment that it starts to feel a little bit lateral, just think about slowing the walk down rather than pushing it forward. In other instances, with other problems in our riding, forward is 99% the answer. But in lateral pacing, slowing down is the answer. And that is also if we have the horse going into a trot and then he comes back to a pace, I slow the horse down to recreate my trot. It's a very important point. Okay, so we'll go on in trot. I'm quite happy with that. I'll just see how responsive he is to the leg. And he wanted to go quite eagerly. You saw how we got a little bit of a skip into the trot. Over the next few days we're going to see if we can eliminate that as well, because of course we want him to ride smooth transitions, but we'll just give him the benefit of the doubt. Different rider, different arena, everything different for him. Now of course the whole time I'm seeing too whether I have got his concentration. He has to stay soft. So we've just trotted again for 5 minutes. Just let her settle, and now we're going to try again. This time I will go into a circle, because we're still experimenting at this stage what suits this horse best. And we have to be flexible in our thinking, in our training, because each horse will be different. Some will prefer to go large, others prefer to go in a circle. Okay, Canter. And abort. Good girl. Good girl. Good. That's lovely. Well done. Okay, that was a much better attempt. Again, I need that trot under control before we go again. Woo, woo, woo. Settle. Good girl. Good girl. Okay. And Canter. I'll let her out of the circle. Let her come at her pace, as long as it's canter. And whoa. Good girl. Make a big fuss. Whoa. Good girl, good girl. Very good, that's what we want. We'll give her a little walk total relief, because that was a very good effort. You can see how she's still leaning like a motorbike, in which case we still got to improve the leg yield a little better so we can actually do it in the canter as well. But of course, at this stage, it's just getting her confidence, letting her believe she can do it. So we'll just stop the camera again for a moment while we have a rest before we go again. Go. Get. So we've had our little walk around. We're now going to go on in trot again, trot a few circles, and then progress into another canter. I'm going to try harder now to keep my circle rounder and maintain some sort of a flexion this time, and I'll do that through holding my inside hand a little bit higher than my outside hand, because that will help me to get my flexion. Because if I can keep the flexion like there, I'm getting canter by accident. I'm not actually asking for it, but you can see how much more controlled that is. So we'll just go with that for a minute since she's offering it. Whoa. So I'm keeping that inside hand up and saying canter. Canter, 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 canter. Abort the moment that she tries to lose her flexion. Leg yield out and ask again. Canter, 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 and trot. Abort. And you'll have to be reasonably strong in front just to control it. And again, canter, 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 and to canter, canter, canter. Good girl, good girl, good girl. And this goes to prove that it is a balance exercise. Okay, abort. Good. And so we'll go large now in the trot, so she doesn't just think she has to canter, because this horse is a particularly difficult one. She's more of an uptight type of horse, and so she's taking it all a little bit personal. That was a very good job. Good girl. Good girl. So we keep changing where we do our circles, where we do our canters, so that she doesn't anticipate quite so much. No, that time I was going to circle, she then thought she had to go. And this is where you have to spend the time doing your trot work in between. I don't care if I only do 3 sessions, like 3 different separate times where I do canter in one whole session. It's important that we get the relaxation. Without that, we don't have a brain. And if we don't have a brain, we can't train the horse. So now we have to spend the time to get the trot organised. We can't just keep doing the canter, because it will just make this horse canter happy, and that's all it will want to do. Good girl. Do some changes of rein in the trot. Take her mind off of the upward transition, because she's waiting for it the whole time. She mustn't lean against my leg, which is what she still tries to do. I'll correct her, put her back where I want her every time. And you must be religious about that. Not just 90% of the time, it's got to be 100% our way of going. I'll come down this bottom end now, make a circle, try the canter down there. Again, I'm going to keep my inside hand higher, keep my flexion, so that I stop the lean on the circle, because that motorbike lean doesn't help anybody, and it sure won't help her to canter any better. And you'll get some fight, as you can see in the mouth there, because she wants to try and get into this lean. I don't care if she fights, that's her problem. She'll give in when she understands. Okay, canter. And again, keep that hand lifted. Try again. Okay, abort, because we got all kinds of funny things in. Try again. Good. Now you can see I'm getting some disunited canter. That doesn't matter. Here we stop her again. Just stop her from running through our hands. Because as you saw in our first time when we tried to canter the other day, she likes to occasionally just run through her hands. So we immediately say, no, you can never learn that. Because of course, if we allow that to continue, we would get bolt. Probably not with this breed, but with other types of horses, definitely. Okay, go again. Now I'm not going to worry if it's disunited canter at this stage. Again, that's just a balance issue. And she has to work that out for herself, to coordinate and find out what is more comfortable for her, in which fashion to do it. And again, canter. You see her swapping her hind legs all the time. She'll work it out. Good girl. And steady. We'll just go out of it again, trot on, give her relief. Because she's trying really hard. We're getting far more steps of canter. And that's all we can ask at this stage.